My name is Katie Benjamin. I'm a student at the university.
My name is Mel Doering. I'm the university archivist.
Well, so the 50th anniversary of this building is coming up, and this place has been standing then for 50 years.
We're at the half-century mark. I think it's time to observe that fact.
But I think our celebration is going to mean a little bit more than that to students and faculty. It's, I mean, in a lot of ways, because the chapel is a symbol. It's a symbol of Valparaiso University's religious identity, and it's a symbol of our ability as a community to come together as a community and worship God and enjoy one another's fellowship and company.
The chapel has played a big part in the history of this university. Folks talk about it being, the center of the campus, the most significant building on campus, a marker of the identity of this university.
The importance of an anniversary is to think about the ideals that caused everything to be the way it is, and remember that they need to be continued.
I think it's always an opportunity of anniversaries to look back and understand how things got to be the way they are, what was good about the past, and what can we learn from that past as we plan for the continuing needs of the future.
Groundbreaking for the chapel was in 1956, and the first use of the chapel was the fall opening convocation of 1958, but they put off the dedication for the centennial year. The student body was a primary moving force in the union, and when the union was built, it forced the board of directors, when students financed the union and pushed the board of directors to get it done, and that forced them to decide how to lay out East Campus. In my student days, chapel was still compulsory for freshmen, not for upperclassmen, but all the upperclassmen came anyway because it was the thing to do. It was easy to tell people, come to the chapel. Going to chapel was where everything happened there. You found out everything there. The bulletin board was right outside the chapel on a building next door, and between chapel and that bulletin board, that's where you learned what was going on about everything.
This chapel is unique from other churches in several ways. I mean, just institutionally, it's not a church, it's not a congregation. The community that meets here is way more transient, but it's a community that is at a critical juncture in time. And then alongside of that is the relatively narrow demographic of the congregation, if you want to use that kind of language. The other thing that makes this chapel unique is the enormous body of resources that the chapel and its ministries can bring to bear on the work of the church. Very few other congregations can pull from 3 regular rehearsing choirs, musicians that play in concert bands and orchestras routinely, preachers that teach preaching and are practicing their craft, and have a pool of 6 or so preachers who we for Sunday morning are on a preaching rotation, and giving not that all pastors don't, but giving really serious thought to the task of preaching. So the richness of the resources that we have here in the service of the church, and the number, the diversity of resources is, I suspect, unparalleled in congregational life. the presence of this chapel springs from a vision for this institution, which is centered in the legacy of President O.P. Kretzmann, and that sense of, you know, this university being a university under the cross, a place where faith and learning have free course together, where we're committed to this life of this intellectual life, which is also a faithful life.
The chapel is a way station for a vast pilgrimage of young people for years to come. And that it has been.
So that, you know, just to, first of all, to recognize that we're standing in a stream that has its headwaters in that kind of vision, and that this edifice, this building that we're celebrating, is a physical manifestation of that vision, and is a housing place for the continuation of that vision.
You know, the importance of the chapel all through its history has really been its location. It's on the highest point of ground, so that it's the tallest building on campus. This is where I should read O.P.'s statement. If this place departs from its purposes, he said, the chapel should be an accusing embarrassment. He really felt that very strongly.
The role of students at the chapel is probably the biggest difference between what's going on now and what alumni will remember from their time here, especially if their time here was more than 10 years ago. In the last 10 years, certainly the last 6 years, there's been a significant shift in terms of who does ministry for whom and with whom. A shift much more towards student ministry among their peers. But the chapel really sees itself as an incubator of student leadership and leadership development. And that's something that both Pastor Cunningham and I are of which we're very proud.
Well, I would love to see alumni returning on 50. We love to see alumni at any time, but especially on an anniversary like this.
I can't imagine alumni coming back here and not being moved when they attend the homecoming service, for instance. It's got to bring back a lot of memories for them. It's been that kind of a building for this university.
I think your decision about where you go to college, if that's why you're visiting, to figure out whether this is the place you should go to university. I mean, there's a lot of things that's going to rest on. Another thing you're going to want to think about is where you feel at home and what kind of community you can be a part of. And what you're going to see at this 50th anniversary celebration is generations of alumni and current students who have made this place a great big part of their lives and who are celebrating the sense of community that they feel.
You know, thanksgiving to God for 50 years of blessing in the past and for the vision of those who have gone before us, but we're also always, when we celebrate anniversaries, thinking about anticipating the blessings in the future, getting ready for the work of the future, and seeking to equip the ministry to head into the future with its much strength and commitment to its mission, as we've seen reflected in the 50 years of history.
But this place, I mean, in addition to stone and brick and marble and tile and architecture that has been standing for 50 years, has been the backdrop, the setting, the milieu for all sorts of people who have passed through here in the drama of their lives and their faith and their journey. And those are just a lot of stories that are worth hearing again.
Well, to alumni, I would say, remember what the chapel meant to you as a student.
So, reflect on how you were blessed in your time, acknowledge that that blessing was in fact a great gift to you and part of, what was essential to your so-called Valpo experience, and then celebrate with us the fact that this chapel continues to be a center and a vital part of this university's ministry and mission. And celebrate with us the fact that as a chapel staff, we continue to be committed to the daily service and enrichment of the student body and the faculty here at this university.
The chapel has to do that. It has to be the core of what the university is all about.